You know, we got the whole concept of church wrong. Church is just ain't what it used to be. And people got the wrong ideal of church. People think they praise them when they ain't doing nothing but just trying to show out. I'm going to tell you something. Church ain't about how much money you can take up. It's not about having a show-off contest with the praise team and the choir. I'm going to tell you something. I was at this musical just a few hours ago, and it bothered me. I told you I quit going to a lot of musicals, and this was an outreach musical where people get outreach to, and it was so much competition, so much showing out. And I was just sitting there saying, why am I even still sitting here? Then they want to take up money for I don't know how long. Read the scriptures and beg people. And it's an outreach ministry. And I'm going to tell you what bothered me. And this is why I say that. We got the wrong concept of church. Because we done took church and tried to fit it to man and the woman needs. If we could start being about God business and not about man business, all these churches would progress like they need to. And I kept seeing this one guy coming in off the street. Now, remind you, this is an outreach ministry. But this one guy, clothes was so tore up. And he didn't have nothing to eat, no money in his pocket. His hair wasn't combed. You could tell he just been on the street. And I watched them kick this guy out 5 or 6 times. I'm finna go somewhere with this in a minute. Just follow me for a minute. They kicked this man out, but he kept coming back into church. And the one that was kicking him out, now remind you, this is somebody else's program, but the one that kept kicking the homeless guy out of the church was the same one in the church running around trying to beg people for his own ministry when it wasn't even his time. He trying to get people to give him money and taking away from the other service that's going on. And when I walked to the restroom, that brother walked back in the door again, and he stopped me in the hallway, and he stuck his hand out, and he said, brother, do you hate me? This is what he told me. He said, do you hate me? And I said, good God Almighty. I said, brother, I hate no one, and why would I hate you? He said, do you hate the way I look? Do you hate the way I'm dressed? And I know I don't have nothing, but I once upon a time had a job and I lost it. I was on my feet, and I don't have nothing. It's the way these church folks keep doing me like this, and all I'm asking for is $1. And then the man that kicked him out came back over there again and said, say, man, didn't I tell you to get out of here? Now, I'm finna go somewhere with this. And he started kind of talking bad to the homeless guy. And the homeless guy said, wait a minute, I have never done nothing wrong to this church. He said, this is an outreach ministry. Why y'all keep kicking me out of the church? And brother, all I asked for was $1. I got enough money to go wash my clothes. All I asked y'all for was $1. And they were steady trying to kick this man out of church. And the man started, the guy that was kicking him out started talking this about a Christian and respect the church. And remind you why he's saying respect the church. He the main one going around begging folks for money. And it ain't even his church. He trying to get money to go somewhere else. And he's smelling like liquor. Yeah, this the Christian man. And the homeless man is humble as he can be. Oh, bless his heart. And I said, brother, I give you what I got in my pocket. But that bothered me. And then, you know what? That the guy that kept trying to kick him out was steady talking. And he said, let me tell you something. He said, God is not going to bless you. That's the homeless man talking. He said that if you knew the word of God, you wouldn't do me like you doing me. You're supposed to clothe your brother. He said, I'm not begging the church for nothing. He said, all I'm trying to do is watch. And y'all just keep on kicking me out. He said, you are doing everything wrong in the eyes of God, and God would not bless you. He said, you are judging me by the way I look. I said, look at this. The homeless man preaching to the Christian. Though he lost on the streets, but he know the word of God better than that man that was standing in the church. Because while that man in the church was steady judging him and trying to kick him out, it seemed like he already knew where he was with God. And he said, thank you, man, for not looking down on me. This is what he told me. He said, that's all he said, I'm so sick of trying to go to church. This is why people get discouraged from church. Now, I can imagine they probably took up at least $800 or $900 in there or more. And could nobody give that man $1? Something wrong. Check your church. Check yourself. That's why the Bible says you do not judge. And I can just see the man, he reminded me of Lazarus in the Bible because he had sores all over his body. He had on a tore-up robe, but he was humble as he could be. And I told that guy that was trying to kick him out, I say, one day you might be working for that man. One day you might be in the spot where that man is. All he asked for was $1. And you got the preacher in there steady begging for money for at least 30 minutes. You know what he read? Malachi 3 and 8. Will a man rob God? You know they're going to always read that scripture. And this man just asking for $1. So if all these church folks can't give this man $1, not that he was going around begging, he just said, I need $1 to finish drying my clothes. And they kept on kicking the man out. Even the pastor said, you need to leave the premises. I said, what kind of people are we? Oh, yeah. That's why I got to keep it real. And people look down on people and wonder why they discouraged and won't go to your church. I bet that homeless guy would never won't step 1 foot in that church ever again. Because this is the way we do people. We looking down. I know what he had on was tore, but then he said, brother, this is all I had to wear. And how humble he was. This homeless guy was so humble. And never cussed not one time. And you know how people come in out the street was cussing. And he just said, brother, why you doing me like this? This is the way he was talking. Calm and humble. He said, I have nothing to eat. This is all I have to wear. And all I was asking for was $1. And this is an outreach ministry. And I can't get nobody just to give me $1. And they taking up money doing everything else with it. You see what I be talking about? Steady begging the congregation. But here's a man really in need. Yeah. And then want to talk bad about people that why you can't give this and you can't give that. And want to go around the church with all the envelopes. Oh, I'm going to put in $300. I'm going to tell you something else, people. You ain't got to let people know what you putting in church. That ain't got nothing to do with people. And I'm so sick of people, oh, I wrote a check for $300. I'm going to put mine in. Yeah. I'm paying a love offering too, but at the same time, I want to put in $500 to sow into your ministry. I'm going to start this off. I'm so sick of this mess. Yeah. And it's not even godly. Yeah, you don't supposed to do all of that kind of stuff. And we got the wrong concept of church. I got to say it again. And this is why people are discouraged. I said, God bless that homeless man. The brother was hungry. They're going to say, we're going to pray for you. He need prayer also, but give the man something to eat. Come on now. Let's keep it real. If somebody don't have no shoes on their feet, and you're going to say, I'm going to pray for you, man that have no shoes, no socks, I'm going to pray for you. Now go across the street and get that man a pair of socks and a pair of shoes. It don't cost that much money. What kind of outreach ministry are you? And I was just talking in the other video on how good outreach ministry is supposed to be. And here I go to this one, and it was terrible to me in so many ways. Because they wasn't reaching out. They was trying to take in for themselves. And see how much money they can get for themselves. And they had a guy showed me a message in that. Man, oh, let's get for real with the word of God. That was a message. And that man, homeless man, started preaching to them people in that church. It was at least 5 or 6 people kept kicking him out, judging him because he smelled, because he had on bad clothes. I shook his hand and I hugged him. And I say, brother, you need more than prayer. I say, but anything I can do for you, here's my number. I'm not like the rest of these folks in here. These holding it down folks that act like they ain't never had they ain't never went without a meal. They ain't never been homeless. They ain't never been broke. Oh, I can relate to you, brother, because I was you. And I said, anything I can do, God let me do it. And that was just a message. I had to see it there. This was an outreach ministry, and this man was homeless, asking for $1. And I know people get on your nerves sometimes with begging and begging. See, this is what I hate. We want to talk about people on the street always running up to our cars begging for dollars and dollars, but you got that pastor in there begging all the time. And he doing better than anybody in the church and ain't helping nobody in the church. Oh, yeah, you got a lot of pastors that do that. They ride high, looking nice, but they ain't helping nobody else but themselves. And quick to preach on you about you need to pay your tithes. So be careful who you look down on, because it might be you one day.